Sunlight filtered through strange leaves as Hannah opened her eyes. Her head hurt. She sat up slowly and looked around. These trees looked like Earth's trees, but wrong somehow. The colors were too bright. The bark too smooth. Hannah touched her forehead, feeling a small bump. "Where am I?" she whispered. Last thing she remembered, she had been hiking alone in Bukansan National Park. It was a clear day. She had taken pictures of the mountain views with her phone. Then, nothing. Now she was here in this odd forest. A scream cut through the air. Hannah's body reacted before her mind could catch up. She dropped low to the ground, making herself small behind a bush. Her heart beat fast in her chest as she peered through the leaves. A man ran through the trees. His clothes were torn. Blood streaked his face. His eyes were wide with terror as he looked back over his shoulder. Behind him came something Hannah had never seen before. It was tall, at least 7 feet. It walked on 2 legs like a human, but everything else was wrong. Its body was covered in armor that seemed to shift colors with the forest around it. Where a human face should be, this creature had mandibles that clicked and moved as it pursued the running man. The creature moved with terrible grace. Each step was perfect, measured. It wasn't running at full speed. Hannah realized with horror that it was playing with the man, letting him think he might escape. The alien raised something that looked like a weapon. There was a flash of blue light. The running man jerked and fell to the ground. He didn't move again. Hannah pressed her face into the dirt, trying not to make a sound. She heard heavy footsteps approach the fallen man. The creature made clicking sounds that might have been speech or might have been pleasure. Hannah risked one quick look. The alien stood over the dead man. It pulled out a knife and cut something from the body. Hannah closed her eyes, feeling sick. When she looked again, the creature was attaching what looked like a small piece of bloody skin to its belt, where several similar trophies already hung. The alien made another clicking sound, then turned and walked away. It moved with the confidence of something at the top of the food chain. Something that feared nothing. Hannah stayed frozen until the sounds of the creature faded completely. Then she waited longer, counting slowly to 100 before she dared move. Her years as a wilderness guide helped now. She knew how to move silently through forests. Each step was careful, her weight distributed to avoid breaking twigs. She moved away from the direction the creature had gone. As she walked, she noticed more strange things about this forest. The insects looked wrong. The birds made calls she had never heard before. Nothing was quite right. "This isn't Earth," she whispered to herself, the terrible truth becoming clear. The sun began to set. The light turned purple instead of orange or red. Definitely not Earth. Hannah needed shelter for the night. She found a large tree with roots that formed a small cave-like space. She crawled inside, making herself as small as possible. In the growing darkness, Hannah heard sounds. Strange calls from animals she couldn't identify. Once, in the distance, she heard another human scream cut short. She put her hands over her ears but couldn't block out the knowledge of what was happening. They were being hunted. Humans were being taken from Earth and hunted for sport by these creatures. Like animals. Like prey. Hannah hugged her knees to her chest. She was afraid, but beneath the fear was anger. She had spent years teaching people how to survive in the wilderness. How to respect nature but also how to live through its challenges. Those skills might keep her alive here. "I am not prey," she whispered to herself as the alien night grew darker around her hiding place. "I will not be a trophy on someone's belt." She thought of the alien's confident walk. The casual way it had killed a human being. The collection of trophies on its belt. This wasn't the first hunt, and it wouldn't be the last. But Hannah made a promise to herself in that dark hollow. She would survive. She would learn about these hunters. And somehow, someway, she would turn the tables on them. The hunters would become the hunted. Hannah had been hiding in the forest for 7 days when she first spotted the smoke. It was thin, almost invisible against the purple sky. Someone had made a fire, which seemed dangerous with the hunters around. Still, she was tired of being alone. She followed the smoke carefully. The cave entrance was hidden behind thick vines. Hannah would have missed it if not for the small rocks placed in an arrow shape on the ground. She touched the rocks, wondering if it was a trap. "Don't move," said a voice behind her. Hannah froze. The voice was human. A man stepped out from behind a tree, holding a sharpened stick. "I'm human," Hannah said quickly. "From Earth. South Korea." The man lowered his weapon. "Daeho," he said. "Also from Korea. Former military. Come inside quickly before they see you." Inside the cave, Hannah found 4 other people. They looked tired but alive. The cave walls were marked with scratches, they were counting days. "You survived a week alone," said Daeho with respect. "That's rare. Most get caught in the first day." Hannah sat by their small fire, accepting a cup of water. "What are they?" "The hunters? They call themselves the Naktu," explained Daeho. "I've been here 3 lunar cycles. We've learned things by watching them. They're an aristocratic species. Hunting lesser beings is how they get status." Hannah looked around at the small group. Besides Daeho, there was a woman about her age adjusting glasses made from twisted wire in clear material. 2 men sat farther back, one tall with dark skin, the other shorter with tan skin and curly hair. 5 humans, Daeho said. 3 Korean like us, 1 Nigerian named Kola, and 1 Brazilian named Paulo. All taken from Earth for sport. "Why humans?" asked Hannah. "There must be other species they could hunt." The woman with the glasses spoke. "I'm Jean. I was a biologist at Seoul National University. From what we've observed, they choose us because we're intelligent enough to make challenging prey, but they think we're technologically primitive." "Stupid of them," said the man named Paulo. "Intelligence is the most dangerous thing to hunt." Jean nodded. "They underestimate us because we don't have space travel or energy weapons." "They have patterns," added the 3rd Korean man, drawing in the dirt with a stick. "I'm Tae. I worked in wildlife management before. These aliens hunt like animals in some ways." Tae's dirt drawing showed the forest and hunting paths. "They hunt during daylight, never at night. They rely on thermal vision, they can see our body heat. And they have some kind of honor code. They won't use certain weapons they think make hunting too easy." Hannah took in all this information. "Have you tried fighting back?" The others exchanged looks. "We've been focused on surviving," said Daeho. "There are more of them than us. They have weapons. But they have weaknesses," Hannah insisted. "Everything has weaknesses." That night, Hannah couldn't sleep. She slipped out of the cave while the others rested. She climbed a tall tree and waited. Near dawn, she saw what she was looking for, a hunting party moving through the forest below. 3 Nakta moved with strange grace. Their armor shifted colors to match the forest. They clicked to each other in their strange language. Hannah watched how they moved, how they signaled each other, how they searched for human trails. When they passed a muddy stream bank, she noticed something odd. All 3 aliens carefully avoided the water. One nearly fell and made distressed clicking sounds when mud splashed on its leg armor. Hannah returned to the cave as the sun rose. "They hate water," she told the others when they woke. "Their exoskeleton cracks in moisture. I saw them avoid it completely." "That's useful," said Daeho. "And they're hierarchical," Hannah continued. "They wear different armor colors. The leader wore red. The others blue and green. For 3 days, they watched the hunters together. They mapped their routes. They timed their hunts. They identified patterns." "They're not just hunters," said Jean. "They're ritual hunters. They follow the same paths, use the same calls. They're predictable." On the 4th day, Daeho found footprints near their cave. "A scout," he said. "They're getting closer to finding us." "Then we strike first," said Hannah. They chose their spot carefully, a narrow path between two rock formations where the hunters often passed. They dug a deep pit and covered it with branches and leaves. They filled the bottom with mud and water from the stream. They waited behind rocks, watching. A hunting party of 2 Naktu approached. The blue-armored one walked ahead of the green one. "The blue ones are higher rank," whispered Jean. "They always go first." The blue Nakta stepped onto the covered pit. The branches cracked. The alien fell with a shrieking click sound that hurt Hannah's ears. The green one rushed forward to help its companion. Deho and Te pushed a large boulder they had positioned earlier. It rolled down, blocking the green Naktu from helping. The alien in the pit thrashed in the mud, its armor cracking where water seeped in. The humans watched in silence as the Naktu's movements slowed and then stopped. The green one retreated, clicking rapidly into a device on its wrist. "Our first kill," said Deho softly. "No," said Hannah, picking up the fallen Naktu's energy weapon. "Our first step toward fighting back." "Keep the wiring separate," Hannah said as she carefully took apart the alien weapon. The blue wire stores energy. The red one triggers the blast. 3 months had passed since their first successful trap. The small cave was now a well-organized base. Weapons hung on the walls. Maps drawn in charcoal covered the floor. 23 humans now lived here, each with a job to do. Hannah looked up as Kehoe entered, carrying more parts from their latest raid. Once a quiet office worker, Kehoe now moved like a soldier. Everyone had changed. "The trap at the eastern ridge caught 2 more, Kehoe reported. "Green armor. Their weapons are intact." Hannah nodded. "Good. We need more power cells." In the corner, Minji worked with small tools on a flat device. She had been a software engineer before being taken from Earth. Now she used those skills to understand Nakta technology. "It's working," Minji said suddenly, holding up the device. It glowed with alien symbols. "I've connected to their communication network." Everyone gathered around as strange clicking sounds came from the device. Minji adjusted something, and the clicks changed to a robotic human voice. "Hunt Sector 7 shows continued resistance. 17 hunters lost this month. Commander demands explanation." "They're counting their losses," Hannah said. "Not just from us. Listen," Minji pointed to the device. "Other human groups are fighting back. We're not alone." As days passed, more humans found their way to the cave. They brought stories from other parts of the hunting preserve. Stories of humans fighting back. Stories of Hannah's group. "We heard about you," said a newly arrived woman named Gan. "People whisper about finding Hannah's group if you get taken. You're famous." Their tactics improved. They didn't just hide anymore. They set traps. They ambushed hunting parties. They took weapons and learned to use them. The Nakta began to hunt in larger groups, showing fear for the first time. Then came the day that changed everything. Hannah led a small team to attack a hunting party near the river. Their plan was simple: drive the hunters toward the water they feared so much. But one Naktu, smaller than the others in pale yellow armor, became separated from its group. "Don't kill this one," Hannah ordered as they surrounded it. The yellow-armored Nakta fought less skillfully than others they had faced. When its weapon was knocked away, it backed against a tree, mandibles clicking rapidly. "It's young," said Tay. "Look at the armor. Not as many marks." They bound the alien with vines and took it back to the cave. It clicked and struggled at first, then grew quiet when it saw how many humans were in the base. Minji worked for hours on the translation device. Finally, she nodded to Hannah. "We can try talking to it now." Hannah approached the captive. "Why do you hunt us?" The device translated her words into clicks, then translated the Naktu's reply: "It is the way. Lower beings exist to be hunted." "We are not lower beings," Hannah said. "Tell us about your people." At first, the young Naktu refused to speak more. But as days passed, it began to answer questions. Its name was untranslatable, but it was indeed young at training to join the elite hunters. The yellow armor marked it as nobility in training. The Dominion has multiple preserves, Hannah translated as they continued their questioning. Not just humans. Other species too. They learned about a central facility that controlled the preserves. About ships that brought new captives. About the Nakto homeworld and their empire spanning many star systems. But the most important thing they learned was about the other species that worked for the Naktu. They are not like us, clicked the young Naktu. They are servants. Workers. Not worthy to hunt or be hunted. Do they choose to serve? Hannah asked. The Nakta's mandibles moved in what they had learned was confusion. Choose? They exist to serve. One night, while most of the humans slept, Minji called Hannah to listen to the communication device. Maintenance required at Sector 8 landing pad. Transport ship reports mechanical failure. Hannah gathered her best fighters. This is our chance to see their technology up close. They moved through the forest silently, reaching a clearing where a small ship had landed. The craft was sleek and silver, much smaller than Hannah had imagined. Near it stood 4 reptilian beings with scaled skin and large eyes. They wore simple gray uniforms and worked on an open panel of the ship. No Naktu were in sight. The crew isn't Naktu, whispered Tay. They must be the servants. Hannah made a decision. She stepped into the clearing, hands raised to show she wasn't holding a weapon. The reptilian creatures saw her and froze. Their large eyes widened. One reached for a tool that might have been a weapon. We don't want to hurt you, Hannah said slowly, pointing to Minji's translation device. We fight the Naktu. The reptilians looked at each other. The tallest one stepped forward and made a series of hissing sounds. We fix ship, translated the device. Naktu return soon. Do you serve the Naktu by choice? Hannah asked. The reptilian's face changed slightly. No choice. Naktu enslaved my people generations ago. Help us, Hannah said, and we can help you. The reptilian crew looked at the forest where more humans now appeared. They looked at the makeshift weapons. They looked at the determination in the humans' eyes. Naktu think you are just animals, said the reptilian leader. But we see differently now. It reached into the ship and pulled out a small device. This controls door security in central facility. We help you. You help us. As the reptilian handed over the device, Hannah felt hope for the first time since waking in this nightmare. They weren't just survivors anymore. They were becoming something the Naktu had never expected. They were becoming a resistance. Hannah stood with her team looking at the glowing map floating in the air. The map showed mountains, forests, and a large building to the north. Their reptilian ally, whom they called Zik, pointed to the building. Their main lodge is 20 kilometers north, said Hannah, studying the holographic map. They never expected Prey to have this information. 6 months had passed since humans first started fighting back. What began as simple traps had grown into a full rebellion. Hannah's base now held over 50 humans. They had weapons, supplies, and most importantly, knowledge. The Naktu will hold a ceremonial hunt tomorrow, said Zik in his hissing voice. Many hunters will leave the lodge. Security will be weaker. Hannah nodded. That's when we strike. The plan was dangerous but simple. While most Naktu were away hunting, a small team would enter the command center. They would use the security device Zik had given them to open doors. Once inside, they would take control of the systems that ran the hunting preserve. What if they catch us? Asked a new fighter named June. Then we fight, Hannah said simply. But they won't expect us. They still think we're just running and hiding. Minji worked through the night with the communication devices they had taken from dead hunters. She had learned to understand much of the Naktu language. Listen to this, she said, holding up a device. The robotic translation spoke. Hunting Group 5 has not returned. Third group missing this week. Commander demands explanation. They're panicking, she reported with a smile. The hunting parties keep going missing. Good, said Hannah. Fear makes people careless. The next morning, they watched from hiding as dozens of Nakta left the lodge in ceremonial armor. Bright colors flashed in the sunlight. The hunters clicked and called to each other, excited for the special hunt. Now, Hannah whispered when the hunters were gone. Her strike team moved through the forest wearing pieces of Naktu armor over their clothes. They carried stolen energy weapons. From a distance, they might be mistaken for a returning hunting party. They were halfway to the lodge when they met a Nakta patrol, 3 hunters in combat armor. Down! Hannah shouted as energy blasts flew over their heads. The humans didn't run. They didn't hide. They fought back. Daeho fired from the left. Tae from the right. Hannah moved straight ahead, ducking and rolling as she had learned to do. The Naktu were not used to prey that fought with their own weapons. They hesitated, confused. That hesitation cost them everything. In less than a minute, 2 Nakta lay dead. The third was injured, unable to stand. Hannah approached the wounded hunter. Its mandibles clicked weakly. Tell your leaders, Hannah said through the translator. The hunt has changed. They left the Naktu alive, deliberately. They wanted it to spread fear. As they neared the lodge, they saw it was bigger than the map showed. Metal walls rose high above the trees. Guard towers stood at each corner. How do we get in? Whispered Kiho. Zik pointed to a small door on the side. Service entrance. For workers only. He placed the security device against the door. Lights flashed green. The door slid open. Inside was a long hallway with doors on each side. The lights were dim. No Naktu were in sight. This way, Zik hissed. Control room is higher up. They moved carefully through the building. Twice they had to hide as Naktu walked past. Each time, the aliens didn't look closely at them. Why would they? No prey had ever entered the lodge before. When they reached the control room door, Zik's device didn't work. Higher security, he explained. Need special access. Then we make our own access, said Hannah. They set explosive charges they had made from Naktu weapons. When the door blew open, alarms sounded throughout the building. Hurry! Hannah shouted as they rushed into the control room. Inside, 5 Nakta technicians turned in surprise. They reached for weapons, but the humans were faster. 4 of the Nakta fell. The 5th raised its hands in surrender. The control room was filled with screens. Each showed a different part of the hunting preserve. On some screens, they could see Nakta hunting parties. On others, they saw humans hiding or running. Minji, can you use this? Hannah asked, pointing to the main control panel. Minji sat down and studied the alien technology. Yes. Give me time. More alarms sounded. On one screen, they saw Nakta guards running toward the control room. We'll give you time, said Daeho, positioning himself at the door with a weapon. Minji worked quickly, her fingers moving over the alien controls. Screens changed. New images appeared. Look, she said suddenly. One screen showed another hunting preserve, completely different from theirs. The landscape was rocky, with little plant life. But there too, they could see beings fighting against Nakta hunters. Another screen showed yet another preserve. And another. It's happening everywhere, said Tae in amazement. All the species are fighting back. I found the communication system, Minji said. I can send messages to all preserves. Hannah nodded. Tell them we've taken control here. Tell them how to fight back. The sound of energy weapons came from the hallway. Daeho and Tae returned fire. We can't hold them off much longer, Daeho called. Wait, said Minji. I found something better. She pointed to a screen showing the Nakta ceremonial hunt. The hunters were surrounding a group of humans who looked trapped. "I can control the weather systems," she said with a smile. On the screen, dark clouds suddenly formed over the hunting party. Rain began to fall, heavy, driving rain. The Nakto hunters looked up in confusion. Their armor began to crack as water seeped in. They tried to run, but the rain followed them. "They fear water," Hannah reminded everyone. "Their exoskeletons can't handle it." On other screens, they saw more rain falling in different parts of the preserve. Nakto hunters everywhere were retreating, their perfect hunt ruined. A loud explosion shook the room. The door began to give way. "We need to go," said Hannah. "One more thing," said Minji, pressing more controls. All around the lodge, on every screen, they could see the same message being broadcast in Nakto clicking language. "The hunt is over. The prey now hunts you." Hannah stood tall as the great doors opened. Two guards led her and her team into the High Hunter's chamber. The room was large and cold. The walls were covered with parts of dead creatures from many worlds. Skulls, skins, and strange body parts hung like art. Hannah felt sick but kept her face calm. The High Hunter sat on a raised platform. Its crimson armor shined in the dim light. It was bigger than any Nakto they had seen before. Its mandibles clicked slowly as it watched the humans enter. "You wanted to meet the leader of the prey," said Hannah through the translator device. Her voice did not shake. The High Hunter stood. Its height was impressive. It walked down to stand before Hannah. She did not step back. "You fight well," the alien said through the translator. "For prey." "We are not prey," Hannah replied firmly. "And you will never hunt our kind again." Around them, more Nakto entered the room. Some wore the armor of hunters. Others wore simpler clothes that marked them as leaders or thinkers. They clicked to each other, pointing at the humans. "You have caused much trouble," said the High Hunter. "Hunting is our way. It has been for 10,000 years. "Then it's time for new ways," said Hannah. She laid out the terms she and the other resistance leaders had agreed on. Earth would be marked as protected space. All human captives would be returned home. The Nakto would pay for what they had done. And their hunting practices would be reviewed by something called the Galactic Concord. "The Concord has no power over us," clicked the High Hunter angrily. "It does now," said Hannah. She held up a small device Minji had given her. "We send messages to all sectors of space. The Concord knows everything. Your secret hunts are secret no more." A younger Nakto stepped forward. Its armor was bright yellow with new red marks. Hannah recognized it as the young noble they had captured months ago. "The old ways are ending," it said. "Many of us have questioned the hunts. This resistance proves your species' worth." The High Hunter turned to the younger Nakto with angry clicks. Other Nakto in the room began to take sides. Some supported the High Hunter. Others seemed to agree with the younger one. "Your people are changing," said Hannah. "You can change with them or be left behind." For 3 days, the talks continued. Some progress was made. The High Hunter agreed to return all human captives. It agreed to mark Earth as protected space. But it refused to stop the hunts of other species. On the 4th day, everything changed. Hannah was woken by alarms. Minji burst into her room. "The hardliners have taken over the prison section," she said. "They're killing the human prisoners." A group of Nakto who could not accept defeat had decided to destroy what they couldn't keep. Led by a hunter captain, they had seized control of the area where captured humans were held. Hannah gathered her fighters quickly. They had few weapons, but they had something better: control of the lodge's systems. "Shut down all power to the prison section," she ordered Minji. "Activate the water systems." As the rebel Nakto found themselves in darkness, water began to pour from the ceiling. Their armor cracked. Their movements slowed. Hannah led her team through the dark hallways. They fought their way to the prison cells. Many humans were saved. Some were not. Nakta bodies also lay in the halls, their armor broken by water and weapons. When it was over, even the High Hunter had to admit defeat. The younger Naktu and its supporters took more control. Real change began. 6 months later, Hannah stood on a large ship. Through the window, she could see Earth growing larger. Home, after all this time. Beside her stood beings from 7 different worlds. All had been hunted by the Naktu. All had fought back. Now they stood together as allies. They thought we were easy targets, said June, who had become one of her most trusted fighters. They never considered what humans do best. Hannah nodded. Adopt. Overcome. Survive. She heard soft clicking behind her. A young Naktu approached, wearing simple robes instead of armor. It was their former prisoner, now a scholar and leader among its people. Commander Hannah, it clicked, the translator changing its words to human speech. I've been asked to record your resistance methods for our military training. Your species has changed how we understand strength. Hannah looked at this alien, so different from her. Once, its kind had hunted hers for sport. Now it sought to learn from her. The strongest predators, she said after a moment, are those who learn they don't need to be predators at all. The young Nakta's mandibles moved in what Hannah now recognized as agreement. On the view screen, Earth's blue oceans and green lands welcomed them home. The hunted had changed the hunters. And both were better for it. The end.